big thing is Saquon Barkley. Another thing too, we'll get into it a little bit more, but like last year, it was, how can the Chiefs stop CMC? This is a running back that no one's ever seen before. It's unprecedented what he's doing. And then this year, it's like literally take out CMC's name, put Saquon Barkley's name there. It's the same exact stuff we heard going into the last year's game. Yes, I know they're two entirely different running backs, but like the fact that a lot of the stuff we heard about CMC last year is what we're hearing about Saquon this year. It's just like, okay, yeah, we slayed that dragon last year, and then this year we're taking on a different guy, but you guys are saying the exact same things you said about CMC, but we'll get into that after this. But so biggest matchup of the game is obviously in the trenches, as you said last week, and according to Chris Jones, it'll be about stopping Saquon Barkley. Looking at the numbers, Chiefs have not allowed 100 yards to a running back all year. And SPAGS, since he's been the defensive coordinator in Kansas City, has never allowed 100 yards to a running back in the playoffs. So SPAGS, over the years, we've had some mediocre run defenses, but SPAGS is somehow locked in and honed in the playoffs, and running backs have not gotten 100 yards against us in the SPAGS era. With all that being said, Chris Jones and Nick Bolton talk about the importance of stopping Saquon this week. So here's Chris Jones and Nick Bolton.
In order to beat this team, we probably got to stop Saquon first. They're having a heck of a year, and they've been relying heavy on running the ball. He can outrun you. He can run you over. He got so many schematics to his game. It's just not no one thing he does. He's so athletic, can jump over you. He can outrun your fastest safety. So there's so many challenges Saquon offer for that offense also. But then again, you got Jalen Hurts who can run the ball and also a heck of a passer. So very challenging for us on stopping the run and slowing them down.
In terms of just when Saquon Barkley gets out the pocket, man, gets the ball out in space, it's going to take a lot of guys tackling out in space, get him down. He's a special player. He's been doing this all year, and he's the best back in this league for a reason.
JD, obviously, big praise for Saquon Barkley from Chris Jones and Nick Bolton. Obviously, Chris Jones says you stop Saquon Barkley, that'll probably get us the win there, right? In order to beat this team, you got to stop Saquon Barkley. Do you agree with that? Do you think this is kind of the key to winning this game is to stop Saquon and then make Jalen Hurts beat us? Is that do you think that's kind of the game plan for the defense?
Well, I think they have a lot of respect for Saquon, determinedly so, and they are correct. Nick Bolton said it correctly, is Saquon Barkley is the best back in the league. Him and Derrick Henry, they're like that, 1 and 2. Is this what's going to be the game plan? Absolutely, 100%. Make no mistake about it. The reason the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and they're contenders this year, is because of Saquon Barkley. Period. Point blank. And without Saquon Barkley, I don't think they make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be where they are. Let's just be honest here, right? The things we've been able to see Saquon Barkley do this year to teams. We watched this man turn backwards and jump over a guy, okay? We watched him take one to the house against the Commanders when his first touch. He has one of those rare abilities to go hit his head on the goalpost anytime he touches the football. That's a fact. That's a fact. So we understand, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, Spags, CJ, Bolton, and everybody on defense understands the offense runs straight through Saquon Barkley. He's got to get his touches. And if you don't have a running back of that type of caliber, then the Eagles are, I ain't going to say they're toothless, but they're not as scary of an offense as anybody else that we played in the league. So to be honest with you, this is the game plan. This is what we have to do. Saquon Barkley is an absolute monster back there. He cannot get going. He cannot get going. And what you have to do at that front, the line of scrimmage has to be controlled by a defensive line. Has to be. We can't be playing in the back in Bolton, Tranquil, and Chanel. We can't be in their laps. If we allow the offensive line get to the second level to Bolton, those guys, it's going to be a long game. It is absolutely going to be a long game for us. And we don't want to do that. All right? Saquon Barkley with them big old ham hock of thighs and, you know what I mean? And, his athletic ability to just make guys miss in space. whoo, that's hard to contend with. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it's been hard for other defenses to do this past year. Well, guess what? Like you said before, we got one of the top run defenses. We stopped guys from getting a lot of yards this past year, okay? And we want to put Saquon Barkley right in that same category. We want to prevent running backs from having a great game against us. We do. When we go in the game knowing that this is the guy that you have to stop, hey, let everybody else around you beat you. Hey, got it? Catch your 5 or 6 balls for 60 yards. Do all you need to do. Hey, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, catch your 2 or 3, balls a game. Get your inner piece. As long as we don't let you beat us deep and stuff, have at it. But the one guy that can't beat us, that we can't let get going, is Saquon Barkley. So they are absolutely right. It is being emphasized and reiterated by SPAGS and everybody else around there. We got to stop Saquon, okay? So they told you what the game plan is. That's it. Jalen Hurts doesn't have his legs. If Jalen Hurts was as 100% with his legs, given a different element to run the football, makes it even more difficult, right? Because now you have 2 runners in the backfield, pretty much. That's how it boils down. And a running quarterback is always dangerous. So, I agree with them 1,000%. 1,000%.
One of the aspects that's not being talked about enough, which is kudos to Saquon Barkley. And this is also kind of something that's kind of hindered us a little bit this year, where we've had trouble with tight ends and backs out of the backfield as far as receiving the ball. And that could be we've discussed all the reasons why that's been an Achilles heel for us. But his being able to catch the ball out of the backfield is one of his strengths that not being talked about enough. Everyone's talking about his ability to run the ball, going 88 out the gate. He can do all that. But he's also one hell of a specimen out of the backfield, being a receiver. I mean, we've seen a couple games this year. The Jacksonville game comes to mind where they kind of stifled the run game. But then he made amazing catch. He had one really badass catch in the back of the end zone against Jacksonville. So what do you think we have to do as far as being able to? I guess how is you game plan being able to stop him as a pass catcher in this game? Because I think that's an underrated spot, especially if Hurts is hurt. What do you do if you're not running the ball as a quarterback? You're getting that ball quick. Little screen pass to the Saquon, little swing passes to Saquon. We might see a lot of that this game. How do you think Spags is going to try to kind of whip something enough to try to stop that aspect, that element of Saquon's game?
One, you had to eliminate having somebody, catching the ball over the backfield or going to the flat. So you have somebody in those areas, right, that you have to contend with. So even if you have like a cover 2 corner, okay, you're playing cloud, that way you can kind of sit on that in the flat area, or have a linebacker maybe cover 3, cover that too. So it's got to be somebody fast enough that's going to be able to get to him right now. You got to be able to recognize exactly what they're trying to do against you defensively. When Frank was on here on Monday, he was sitting there talking about when you take away something on defense, you got to give something up, right? So what do we want to give up defensively? And what you had to think about, well, look, do we want to maybe run cover 2 and have the safety be over top, play over top on like A.J. Brown, right? Do you want to have that happen? Do you give up maybe cover 2 where you have Bolton run down the middle with Goddard, which I don't really see them running too much of that down the field, and let him play there? So there's a few things that you can definitely do to contend with Barkley coming out of the backfield. So the same thing, if you run cover 1, we know Bolton, those guys are going to be on Barkley. And also, too, it's got to be conversation about switching guys up. Like I always tell you before, one of those things that we used to call where you would switch up man would be banjo, right? So communication has to be clear, not just saying the word banjo, but no, you got Barkley. 26 come out, you have him. And so what I love about this, the 2 week to get prepared, is you'll see everything that you need to see. All right. I don't see anything extensively that the Eagles do that is really complex. They don't really have a complex offense. They do a lot of RPOs. And for them guys, hey, hand the ball off to Barkley, right? When all else fails, Marcus, all else fails, hand the ball to that guy, right? And let him go try to hit the head on the goalpost. And hopefully he'll do something spectacular. That's what they're hoping for. So if they feel like they get the ball to him and get the ball in his hands enough, he's going to break one. Only thing we try to do is break his back, okay? Legally, we don't want to hurt him. But, Saquon going to get hit. I'm sorry. Saquon going to get hit a lot this game. And so maybe we start hitting him enough, he might start thinking about he might need to go back up in New York. He might have to go see the Giants again. Man, I know I'm going to get hit like that. Be funny, but that's for real. We just got to put a hat on him. Once you put a hat on him, we do a great job of rallying to the ball. That's another thing we have to do. So it can't just be one guy tackling him, okay? As soon as you see him get the ball, we got to go and we got to sprint. Kendrick Fishback, wrap up is going to be the key. Absolutely. Right there. It's coming from our boy right there, Kendrick Fishback. What up, Kenny? What up, Fish? Good to see you. Another running back, okay? Fish knows. So if you don't get no wrap up on them big legs, because it ain't going to just take one, man. It's going to take about 3 or 4 or 5. And keep hitting him, hold him up. Let me get a little bit of that too. Wop, 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 wop. Okay? So after a while, I want to see him in the blue tent. Legally, right? I won't really hurt him. But maybe he goes over and visit the blue tent for a little bit. Okay? That's how I look at it. That's what you got to do, man. That's how you got to contend it with a lot of different ways. So I know I'm throwing a little football jargon around, but that's kind of what it is.
Want to make some quick cash while enjoying the big game with your family and friends? Together with our friends at Underdog, we got a few exciting things to share with you. First, if you've yet to download the Underdog app, do so now and get free cash. Click the link in the description or use promo code CHIEFCONCERNS, that's one word, to claim your free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to 1,000 smackaroos in bonus cash. New users will also get a Travis Kelce free pick for every new customer who signs up on Underdog before the big game. Secondly, for all existing Underdog users, Underdog is offering a no-sweat Sunday entry for all users, which means that everyone will either cash in on their big game entry or get their money back in bonus credit. If you have no idea how to play, well, we got you covered. Over the last 5 weeks, we have given 19 selections and have cashed on 15 of them. Pretty good. Predicting higher or lower on multiple different player statistics. So we are ready to continue this heater into the big game between the Chiefs and Eagles and beyond into the NBA season. So let's make this money and have a damn good time. I've heard a lot of these pundits, and like you said, I had to cash myself multiple times watching NFL Network, ESPN, which is crazy because these guys get paid to watch, especially a team that's on that national television every week. But hearing them talk about the Chiefs defensive line, it's really only Chris Jones in there. So Saquon can get going in this game. And we've seen this year, we've seen Pennell have a game where games where he stepped up. We've seen Tershawn Wharton have games where he stepped up. We've seen Dana step up either on the outside or on the inside. All of our defensive linemen, they've had contributions this year. Unlike last year where we were kind of waiting for another person to step up besides Chris Jones, and it was still a Super Bowl, we actually saw Mike Pennell come to life against San Francisco. I mean, he looked fantastic in that game. But just looking at that game, let's look at that game. CMC went 22 for 80 on the ground that game. They tried to force the issue because everyone said he run the ball against Kansas City's defensive line. 22 for 80. And then in the passing game, though, he had 8 for 80 and a touchdown. 8 for 88, I believe. So they got him the ball. They got him his touches.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough because we had guys like Pennell, like Noddy step up. Like the contributions from the other guys, it's been there all year. That's why, yes, I know in the playoffs, Cook and Mixon had their way with us. They didn't get the 100 yards, but playoff, our run defense has looked a little bit more suspect than it did during the regular season. But I think in a game like this, I think the other guys, like they did in the last year's Super Bowl, I think they'll come to life.
Yeah, I do too. And like you said, they was trying to push the issue with CMC, which that's the game plan. CMC is one of those guys, like back then had the ability to hit his head on the goalpost. Could run routes out of backfield with the best of them. And if you get him going, it was going to be kind of the same thing. But we have to see, and I've said this before, like my man was over at Cliff Cole was sitting there saying, we got to control the line of scrimmage. We have to. And a lot of it has to deal with the guys, unsung heroes, and I keep talking about them, that need to step up. Mike Dana does a great job, okay? He's got to be disruptive. Turk got to be disruptive, all right? We got to see Mike Pennell. He's got to be disruptive. So it can't just be Chris Jones. Chris Jones got to, I'm talking about throw guys left to right. And this is a good offensive line. They are. We talked about the two centers being hurt. Okay. They're probably going, I don't know who they're going to start, who's going to play, but that's going to be somewhat of some, wounded duck coming in there. So we got to take advantage of that. We got to do some stunts. We got to do a couple of twists. And we got to blitz, bring pressure. That's another thing. Bring pressure. Not only does it stop the run, but it also stops the pass. And so when you're sitting over there, maybe in the RPO and whatnot, guys are going to have to play that tight. They're going to have to. I expect when I think about pressure, I'm talking about not only for guys coming from depth, coming up and trying to hit the gap, but also too has to be like from our guys that's in pass defense, that they got to be right there in the wide receiver's chest. Okay, Devontae Smith, put your hands on him. AJ Brown, put your hands on him. Goddard, put your hands on him. That's what you do. We got to have a physical game this week. As physical we could possibly be, we got to win that battle. We have to win that battle on offense and defense. But our defense has got to play out of their mind. I mean, just come out of their cleats. I want to see Chris Jones over there crying. I don't want to see him crying the entire game. I just want him balled up in that emotion, okay? Balled up in emotion the entire game, all right? Chris is just over there, man, unconsolable. Like, man, leave him alone, okay? You don't want what he's about to give you, okay? Let him give all of that he has. Let him give that to the Eagles. Let him give it all to the Eagles. So that's the way I look at it.
Talk about the element of the pressure, because I think when people think of pressure, JD, and blitzing, they think about, because we're going to get to the pressure, how that impacts the passing game. But I think people only think about pressure and blitzing as far as how that impacts the passing game. Yeah. Can you, for maybe some of the beginners when it comes to football knowledge and football IQ, how does the pressure impact the run game of things, especially with a team that relies so heavily on the run? Because I mean, if you look at, we'll get to when we talk about the passing things and pressure on the Jalen Hurts, but they're a team that likes to go for it on fourth down. There's 3 teams in the league that like to go for it on fourth down. That's Detroit, Philadelphia, and Washington, and all 3 of those teams made it far. But the third and medium is just another down for them. They can run the ball where most teams have to go into pass mode. The whole playbook's open for them, because 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, they can run the ball, get those 3 or 4 yards, and then they can, go to fourth down. They'll go for it potentially. But how does the SPAGS kind of the nuance of the SPAGS kind of brings as far as his blitzes and pressure, how that affects the run aspect?
So one of the things that pressure brings, okay, or the problems that it provides, is you hit gaps faster, quicker. You have guys, SPAGS does a lot of this of bringing guys off the edge where you can't get out leveraged. So even if you have like a pulling guard or a tackle or somebody trying to get outside, or maybe you're trying to get a pitch to Saquon Barkley, you got a guy right there in his face right now. And so that transition from catching the football, handing the ball off, blitz provides you with somebody in that timing. It can disrupt it. That's what it does. It disrupts the entire scheme, the timing, and everything that you do offensively. It's hard to do. It's hard to contend with. And so if you don't see it, you don't call it out, because, we offensively, we have contingency plans. You just know your job's going to be that much harder, especially we got a guy who's coming all the way from up in the stands blitzing on you. You got to catch him, while he's doing it. You got to call it out. Everybody's got to know it. And then you had to have a technique that's going to be able to overcome it. Half the time, you just try and get in the guy's way, man. That's what you try to do. Just get in his way just to stop him. And so that's what happens, man, with blitzes. Blitzes just provide kind of like a jailbreak and things of that nature that quarterbacks and running backs just can't think. It's hard to do because you got a guy in your face right now. We seen that. I kept going back through, and they were talking about the pressure that was coming on Jalen Hurts. And he said it looked like a jailbreak every time. Oh, jailbreak. Yeah. The O-line is looking back because the dude just went by him. And they over here saying, oh, Jalen, look out. Look out, Jalen. They calling that from the sideline. So that's SPAGS in his bag. That's his specialty. So I think once you start disrupting that, it changes their game plan about what you do. Another thing that you can do with that pressure, because it is successful, if it gets successful early, you can bluff. There's a lot of bluffing in there too. Look, man, this is chess now. Okay, this is high level stuff. And so when we're sitting over saying, what do we, how do we take somebody's heart? Well, you do it early. You do it early, and hopefully we'll blitz early and often, and then you kind of back off. That way, they're thinking, "Oh, blitz, blitz, blitz." You call it, then you back off into your particular areas, whatever pass defense it's running. So that's what it is. It's tough, man. Blitzes is always a hard thing to do. So.
And also, just to going back to that Super Bowl last year, I mean, we did this with pretty much the same D line, but we also lost Charles Omenihu the game before the Super Bowl. So Omenihu actually will be in this game now, and that's yet another guy you can add to that rotation on the D line. And I mean, and the one thing we'll talk about the pressure as far as Jalen Hurts, but like that Rams game, I know it was a snow game, but first half of that game, that Rams defensive line, a lot of rooks on that defensive line, they were getting back there. Verse had 3 or 4 sacks in that game. And I mean, Verse probably have a really great NFL career, but I mean, he's not where George Karlaftis and Charles Omenihu are as far as from a physical standpoint. So like, I think that a lot of people are talking about the Eagles offensive line, like the Eagles offensive line from like 3 years ago when we played them last time. I think it's taking a step back a little bit. Lane Johnson's a little bit older. You're dealing with a new center, a new left guard spot there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same offensive line from 2 years ago, and I think people are still talking about it like it is that same offensive line from 2 years ago. And I think that's kind of a misnomer just because Saquon had such a good year this year, so everyone's kind of writing off the changes that they've undergone on the offensive line.
It makes it look like they've done their job all year, right? Yeah, everybody patting them on. Yeah, hey, good block, good job. And then they look at the film like, oh my goodness. Oh no. Coach might have replaced this guy. Why? Look at him. That's why Saquon had to jump over people in the pile backwards. Sucker right here just ran up past the center and the guard. He ain't touched nobody. He ain't pitch him. Pitch somebody. So it's not the same offensive line. But they still good.
Yeah.
Good offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't want to downplay it because I'd be lying. They are a good offensive line. Are they better than the Bills' offensive line? No. I think the Bills' offensive line is a lot better. We've gone against them, and we gave them the blues. Lenny said Josh Allen still don't know what happened on the 4th and 5. Somebody said he's still over in Arrowhead sitting on the bench still trying to figure it out, Lenny. So he didn't even fly back to Buffalo. But now, man, look, it's when you have a clear game plan, okay, about what it is that you want to attack, all right, Saquon Barkley. We also know that Jalen Hurts is hurt, all right? He is hampered, he is hindered by that knee. And so we got to make sure that we provide pressure, okay, and just bring it from all areas. Our secondary, our pass defense, that has to do a tremendous job because they got some good receivers. They got a good tight end. So they ain't chopped liver, okay? A.J. Brown's one of the top receivers. Devontae Smith, one of the top receivers. Dallas Goedert's one of the top tight ends in the league. That's another reality. So you start one element of it, what are you giving up? And so we know those guys on the back end to play tough, okay? They got to do their job. We got to contend every single pass that comes in, contend every single one. So once we do that, Marcus, once we get that game plan down to understand where it is we're supposed to be at, how we're supposed to play them, we're going to be fine, okay? And it doesn't matter. Spags like, hey, listen, just, hey, trust everything, trust the process, everything's going to work. That's it. That's what we got to do. In Spags, we trust. Wearing them shirts and jerseys, in Spags, we trust.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.